My name is Madison Cole, and I'm 34 years old. 3 days ago, my fiancé tried to put our engagement on pause so he could figure things out. What he didn't know was that by the time the words left his mouth, I'd already ended the relationship in my head that morning. If you'd asked me a year ago to describe my life, I would have said it was solid, not glamorous, not tragic, just steady in a way I'd earned. One project, one late night, one careful decision at a time. I work in IT consulting. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment in the city, one room turned into a makeshift office filled with monitors and color-coded sticky notes. I pay my bills on time, know my credit score, and can tell you exactly what's in my savings without opening an app. I'm not the loudest person in any room, but people notice when I'm not there because I'm the one who remembers deadlines and backup plans. I like systems. I like knowing what's coming next. I like stability I can point to and say, I built that. For a long time, I thought my relationship was part of that structure. My fiancé, ex-fiancé now, I guess. His name is Eric Barnes. We met 3 years ago at a joint networking mixer between my company and his. He works in marketing strategy. I was there to talk about integrating new software with their campaigns. He was there to drink free cocktails and charm people. He's very good at that. I remember the night clearly. I was standing near the back of the event space, nursing a watery gin and tonic, mentally debating if I could sneak out without offending anyone. Eric slid in next to me, tie loose, sleeves rolled, with a grin like he already knew the punchline to a joke I hadn't heard yet. You look like you're calculating the optimal escape route, he said. I might be, I answered. He laughed, and it was easy between us, easier than I was used to. We talked about work, the absurdity of corporate buzzwords, our favorite takeout spots. He walked me to my car, even though it was only half a block away. The next morning, I had an email from him. Coffee sometime? I promised not to say synergy even once. A year later, we were living together. 2 years in, he proposed. On a small overlook outside the city, just the two of us, and a ring that sparkled more than I thought I deserved. I cried. He said he'd never felt so sure about anything. We set a wedding date for next October. My Google Calendar became a patchwork of work deadlines and dress fittings, vendor calls and client meetings. It wasn't magical exactly, but it felt real, solid, like something I could rely on. And then, about 2 months ago, the ground under my feet started to shift. It didn't happen all at once. That's the tricky part. It was little things at first. Eric started keeping his phone face down on the table. When it buzzed, he'd tilt it away from me to check it. I'd ask how his day went, and he'd say, busy, and change the subject. He started working late more too, more client dinners, more networking events that somehow always ran until midnight. Don't wait up, he'd text. This client is important. He'd come home smelling like expensive perfume and restaurant air, kissing my forehead and collapsing on the couch with a guilty kind of exhaustion. Everything okay? I asked one night as he shrugged off his jacket. Yeah, just slammed, he said, already scrolling through his phone, screen turned slightly away. I'm not stupid, but I am slow to accuse. I don't like drama. I like proof. Evidence. Something I can hold in my hand and say, this is what happened, and I'm not crazy. So I did what I always do when something feels off. I watched. I counted the nights. I stored the inconsistencies like files in a mental folder. He said he was out with his friend Sophie last Wednesday, but Sophie had posted an Instagram story from a completely different restaurant. He mentioned a conference that didn't show up on his company's public calendar. I told myself it could all be explained, that I was overthinking, that people are allowed to have private conversations that have nothing to do with betrayal. I gaslit myself because the alternative was worse. Last Thursday morning, Eric left for work before me. He was rushing, half-dressed, toast still in his mouth when he grabbed his laptop bag. I'm gonna miss the train, he mumbled, kissing my cheek. Love you. I'll text you later. Love you, I said, out of habit more than anything. The apartment door slammed. The silence that followed felt heavier than usual. I rinsed my coffee mug, wiped the counter, and that's when I saw it. His iPad, sitting near the fruit bowl. Eric took that thing everywhere. He used it in meetings, on the couch, in bed when we were supposedly winding down together. Seeing it abandoned felt wrong. I picked it up, intending to put it on his desk so he wouldn't forget it for tomorrow. The screen lit up as I moved it. No password. Just a notification banner sliding down from the top. Lauren K. Last night was exactly what I needed. Thank you for understanding me in ways she never could. My hand went cold. The edges of the iPad blurred. For a few seconds, all I heard was my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I could have put it down. I could have told myself it was a misunderstanding, a coworker who was oversharing, some weird, out-of-context comment. Instead, I tapped the notification. The Messages app opened, dropping me into a thread that had clearly been going on for a while. At the top, Lauren K., a contact photo of a woman in her early 30s, smiling at the camera like she'd never had to doubt herself. I scrolled up. 3 months of messages, 3 months of, hey, you made it home okay, and thinking about you, and you deserve to feel seen. 3 months of emotional confiding, crossing a line I recognized instantly. Then it got worse. I think I'm falling for you. When I'm with you, I feel alive in a way I haven't in years. You make me question everything about my relationship. I don't know how long I can keep pretending everything is fine with Madison. He used my name, casually, like I was a problem to be solved, an obstacle between him and his revived sense of self. My stomach lurched. I kept scrolling, past coffee dates and late-night drinks, past references to that hotel bar and the Uber back to your place. Past nights he'd told me he was at networking events or hanging out with Sophie. And then last night, you look so beautiful tonight. Last night was exactly what I needed. Thank you for understanding me in ways she never could. I need to figure out my situation. It's not fair to either of us like this. You know that feeling when your reality shatters, but everything around you stays perfectly still? The fridge hummed. A car door slammed outside. Somewhere a neighbor's baby cried. My life had just split into before and after, and the world didn't even flinch. I sat at the kitchen table with his iPad and my cooling coffee for, 20 minutes. 30. Time got weird. Then the part of my brain that loves systems kicked back in. I grabbed my phone and started taking photos. Every message, every date, every line where he told her he felt alive, seen, understood. Every time he lied to me in the exact same window of time. Screenshot, scroll, screenshot, scroll. I didn't cry. Not then. I felt hollow, focused, like I was on the edge of a cliff and the only way not to fall was to catalog every loose rock. I was still sitting there when the front door opened again. Madison, Eric's voice. I left my presentation notes. Oh, there they are. I snapped the iPad case shut so fast my fingers stung. He walked into the kitchen, hair slightly mussed from the wind, smiling like the man I'd agreed to marry. Hey, he said. You okay? You look weird. I'm fine, I said. My voice sounded flat even to me. Just tired. He leaned over, kissed the top of my head. Big day? Something like that, I murmured. He grabbed some papers from the counter, stuffed them into his bag, and was gone again. The door clicked shut. The silence returned. I opened the iPad again. By noon, I'd transferred every screenshot to a secure folder in my cloud storage. I created a spreadsheet, because of course I did, matching his supposed whereabouts to the messages I'd just seen. Every drinks with Sophie that was actually dinner with Lauren. Every client event that lined up with flirty hotel bar photos she'd sent. Around 1, I called my older sister Rachel. What's up, she answered. Don't you usually drown in meetings on Thursdays? I found out Eric's been cheating, I said. No preamble. I didn't trust myself to ease into it. She was silent for a beat. Tell me everything. I did. The iPad. The messages, the timelines. I spoke in bullet points, like I was presenting a grim slide deck. Okay, she said when I finished. Her voice had that clipped, dangerous calm I'd only heard once before, when someone rear-ended her car and tried to drive off. You're not staying in this, Mad? I know, I said, and I did. The decision sat in my chest like a solid stone. Then end it today, she said, before he gets a chance to spin this or put you on hold while he auditions her. I'm going to end it, I said, but not the way he expects. By 2, I'd called our wedding venue. The coordinator's voice softened. When I asked about their cancellation policy, we were far enough out that they'd refund most of the deposit. The caterer was less generous, but still workable. It hurt, but it was a clean hurt, a controllable one. By 3, I'd called my parents and asked if they could come by that evening. Is everything okay? My mom asked. I just need to talk to you and Dad, I said. And I need you to hear it from me directly. Can you come around 7? She hesitated. We'll be there. I did the same with Eric's parents. I didn't give details, just, it's important. Please. By 4, I'd packed a duffel with clothes, documents, my backup drive, and left it at Rachel's place on my way back to the apartment. I logged into our shared streaming accounts and utilities, removing my name wherever I could. I updated passwords on anything that was mine alone. By the time the sun started slipping behind the neighboring buildings, my life was still technically intact from the outside. Ring on my finger. Save the date postcards on the fridge. But inside, I'd already walked away. Eric came home a little after 6. "Hey," he called, dropping his keys into the bowl by the door. His voice sounded strained. "Can we talk?" I was sitting on the couch, hands loosely folded in my lap. The iPad was nowhere in sight. My phone, with its folder of evidence, sat screen down beside me. "Sure," I said. "What's up?" He didn't sit next to me. He took the armchair opposite, like we were in a therapist's office. His knee bounced. He forced it still. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he started. My stomach clenched. I'd heard that phrase before, from people about to quit jobs, end leases, leave cities. "Okay," I said. "I love you, Madison. You know that." He waited, like he wanted me to nod. I didn't. "But lately, I've been feeling uncertain. Like maybe we rushed into the engagement. Like maybe I need to be sure you're really the right choice before we go through with the wedding." There it was, the speech he'd probably practiced on the train. "What are you saying?" I asked. My voice was calm. It surprised even me. "I want to pause the engagement," he said. "Not break up. Just take a step back. Give me some time to think clearly without the pressure of wedding planning. A few weeks, maybe a month. I just need space to figure out what I really want." I watched him carefully. He looked nervous, yes, but there was relief there too, like he'd finally set down something heavy. "Space to figure out what you want," I repeated slowly. "Exactly." He smiled a little, hopeful. "I knew you'd understand." I let the silence stretch, just long enough for him to relax a fraction. "Eric," I said softly, "do you need space to figure out what you want, or space to figure out if you want to be with Lauren?" His face went completely white. His mouth opened and closed twice before sound came out. What?" he stammered. "Who?" I tilted my head. "Lauren. Lauren Kay. The woman you've been texting for 3 months. The one you met at that conference. The one who told you last night that you understand her in ways I never could. Ring a bell?" His eyes darted to the coffee table, to my phone, to the kitchen, like maybe there was a script lying around he could follow. I watched the moment he realized he'd lost control of the timeline. He'd expected to lead this conversation. Instead, he was already behind. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. This is crazy, Madison." "Is it?" I asked. "Because Thursday morning, you forgot your iPad on the counter." His whole body flinched at the word iPad. "And when it lit up," I continued, "there was a message from Lauren. I opened it. I read everything. 3 months worth." You went through my private messages?" he snapped, latching onto the first branch he could find. His voice got louder, angrier, like volume could make him right. "That's a massive violation of trust." I almost laughed. It came out as a breath instead. "You left your device unlocked on the kitchen counter," I said. "The notification was just there. But sure, let's pretend this is about my ethics for a second and not the fact that you've been sneaking around behind my back while we plan a wedding." He stood up, started pacing between the couch and the window, running a hand through his hair. "You had no right. That was a private conversation." "Private conversations don't usually include, 'I think I'm falling for you,' and 'I feel alive when I'm with you,' not her," I said quietly. He froze. The room went very still. I could smell his cologne, the faint scent of the dinner. He'd probably eaten with her, not alone, not stressed at his desk like he'd told me. "It's not what you think," he said finally, turning back toward me. His voice had gone softer now, pleading. "Lauren and I, we just connected. We talked. That's it. It wasn't an affair." "Really?" I raised an eyebrow. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks a lot like an emotional affair at the very least. Coffee led to dinner. Dinner led to late-night drinks. You told her things you didn't tell me. You told her you were questioning what we have. You lied to me about where you were, multiple times. What would you call that?" He swallowed. "I was confused. I've been under a lot of stress, and we've been so focused on the wedding, and you've been so busy with work, and then Lauren showed up and she just listened. She understood. It felt good to have someone I could talk to without all this pressure." "You were confused," I repeated. "So confused that you could plan secret meetups, type out long messages about how you feel alive with her, and keep your phone angled away from me for months. That's not confusion, Eric. That's a series of choices." He sat on the edge of the armchair, shoulders sagging. I didn't mean for it to go that far. But you let it, I said, over and over again. He ran his hands over his face. Look, that's why I wanted to pause the engagement. I need to figure out how I really feel. I don't want to hurt you. You already did, I said. And the pause isn't about protecting me. It's about keeping your options open while you try out your new toy without losing the safety net of our engagement. That's not fair, he said, voice tight. You're twisting this. I felt something in me click into place. Cold, steady, heavier than anger. What's not fair is you wearing my ring while telling another woman you're falling for her. What's not fair is you planning a wedding while leading a double life. What's not fair is you deciding unilaterally that I should sit patiently in the pause zone while you decide if I'm still a good investment. He stared at me like he didn't recognize the person in front of him. Maybe he'd never really looked. What are you saying? He asked hoarsely. I'm saying there is no pause, I replied. We're done. He blinked. Madison, come on. Don't do this. We can work through this. I've already called the venue and the caterer, I said. I called them this afternoon. We're within the cancellation window for most of it. We'll lose some money, but not as much as we would if we waited. He lurched to his feet. You, what? I also called my parents and your parents, I added. They'll be here in about 10 minutes. The color drained from his face again, a different kind of white this time. You called my parents? Why would you do that? Because I'm not letting you control the story, I said. I'm not giving you a few weeks to test drive your affair and then tell everyone that we mutually decided to take a break or that we grew apart. I want everyone to hear what actually happened, once, from me. He shook his head, almost laughing in disbelief. This is insane. We don't need to involve our families. This is between us. You involved them when you proposed to me in front of them, I said. When you talked about how excited you were for them to see us get married. They're part of this now. They deserve to know why their kids aren't getting married anymore. And I deserve not to be painted as the unreasonable fiancé who couldn't handle a little space. He took a step closer, hands out like he could physically push my words back into my mouth. Madison, please, we can talk to them later. Let's just take some time, cool off, figure out what this is. You read those messages without context, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, I cut in. You met someone at a conference. You liked how she made you feel. You kept feeding that connection instead of dealing with whatever was going on with us. You lied. That's the context. I'm not confused. His jaw clenched. We're supposed to be a team. We were supposed to be, I said. Teams don't hide third players on the bench. The doorbell rang. He flinched like someone had fired a gun. I'm begging you, he said in a harsh whisper. Don't do this. Don't drag everyone into our business. I stood up. My legs felt strangely steady. You dragged them in when you asked me to spend the rest of my life with you and then started auditioning understudies. He reached for my arm. I stepped back, just out of reach. Don't, I said. He let his hand drop. I walked to the door and opened it. My parents stood there, coat still buttoned, worry already in my mother's eyes. Behind them were Eric's parents, his mother clutching her purse strap, his father frowning slightly like he'd been pulled away from something important and wasn't sure why. Hey, my mom said. What's going on? You sounded serious. Come in, I said. My voice sounded calm, detached. Thanks for coming on such short notice. They filed into the living room, exchanging confused looks, when they saw Eric standing stiffly by the armchair, hands jammed into his pockets. Is everything okay? Eric's mom asked. You two look like you've seen ghosts. Please sit down, I said. My dad sat on the edge of the love seat. My mom perched beside him, back straight. Eric's parents took the couch. Eric remained standing. I stayed by the doorway for a second, looking at all of them, then moved to the side of the room where I could see everyone's faces. Madison, my father said carefully, you're scaring us. I'm sorry, I said. This isn't easy, but I didn't want anyone to hear a watered-down version of what's going on. Going on? Eric's dad repeated. Is this about the wedding? In a way, I said. I took a breath, feeling my heart thud against my ribs. Eric and I won't be getting married. Eric's mom's hand flew to her mouth. My mother reached for my father's arm. What? My mom whispered. Why? I looked at Eric. His eyes pleaded with me. Don't. Please don't. He wanted another chance to spin. I pulled my phone from my pocket. Because Eric has been having an affair for the past 3 months, I said, with a woman named Lauren. I found out yesterday. The word affair landed like a physical blow in the room. Eric's mother shook her head slightly, as if she could reject reality just by denying it. That's not, Eric started. I opened my photo gallery, tapped the folder I'd created, and turned the screen toward my mom first. These are screenshots of their messages, I continued. Dates, times, everything. I took them from his iPad yesterday morning when he forgot it here. They've been meeting up while telling me he was at work events or with friends. He's told her he thinks he's falling for her, that he feels alive with her, that he isn't sure about our relationship anymore. My mom's eyes moved quickly over the screen, then widened. Her lips pressed together, anger and heartbreak warring across her face. "Oh, Madison," she whispered. She passed the phone to Eric's parents. His father took it, jaw tightening as he scrolled. His mother leaned in, reading over his shoulder. I watched their expressions change, confusion giving way to disbelief, then horror. "You told this woman you were falling for her," Eric's mother said finally, voice thin, "while you were engaged to Madison?" "It's not like that," Eric said, panic rising. "I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. I never meant to hurt anyone." "You knew enough to lie," I said. "You knew enough to plan secret meetings. You knew enough to hide your phone and twist your schedule around her." My father looked at me. "What do you need from us?" "Just your support," I said. "And I needed you to hear this from me. Now, before anyone starts saying we mutually decided things, or that I got cold feet. That's not what happened. I'm ending the engagement. I've already started canceling the wedding." Eric's dad stood, still holding my phone, then set it carefully on the coffee table like it was something that might explode. He looked at his son. "Get your things," he said quietly. "You're staying with us tonight." "Dad, come on," Eric protested, his voice cracking. "You're just going to take her side?" "This isn't about sides," his father said, anger finally surfacing. "You made vows before you ever walked down an aisle. You broke them. Now you deal with the consequences." Eric looked at me, then at our parents, then back at me. His eyes were red, too bright. "Madison, please," he said. "We can work through this. We love each other. We can go to counseling. We can—" "You had 3 months to work through whatever this was before you crossed the line," I said. "You didn't. You chose secrecy. You chose her. Over and over again. There's nothing left here for me to fix." My mother stood and came to my side, her hand resting lightly on my back. It felt like a small anchor. Eric's mom wiped at her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she said to me. "You didn't deserve this." I nodded, not trusting my voice. Eric's father repeated more firmly, "Get your things." Eric finally left the room, shoulders hunched, disappearing down the hallway toward our bedroom. The sound of drawers opening and closing echoed faintly. No one spoke. The clock in the kitchen ticked far too loudly. My phone, abandoned on the table, went dark again, the screenshots tucked away behind its black screen like it had all just been a bad dream I could wake up from. He came back 15 minutes later with a duffel bag. He wouldn't look at me. His parents moved toward the door. My father shook his hand once, distant. My mother hugged his mother, murmuring something I didn't catch. Eric stopped in front of me, finally meeting my eyes. "I really do love you," he said, voice raw. "You know that, right?" "If that's what your love looks like," I said quietly, "I don't want it." Something in his face broke. He walked out without another word. The door closed behind them. The apartment felt cavernous and airless, full of ghosts. My parents stayed for a while. My mother made tea we didn't drink. My father asked practical questions about the lease and the vendors. I answered all of them. It was easier than talking about how I felt. When they finally left, promising to call in the morning, it was just me and the hum of the refrigerator again. I sat on the couch in the dark until my legs went numb. I thought about our first date, our first trip, the way he'd knelt on that overlook and asked me to marry him. I thought about Lauren's name lighting up his screen, and the way his face had gone white when I said it out loud. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Eric, I'm so sorry. I know I hurt you. Please, can we talk tomorrow? I want to fix this. I love you. Please." I stared at the message until the words blurred. Then I locked my phone, set it face down on the coffee table, and didn't reply. I woke up late the next morning, still wearing yesterday's sweater, the apartment silent in that unsettling, hollow way spaces feel. After something violent has happened, even when the violence was emotional. My phone was a wall of missed calls. 17 from Eric, 2 from his mother, 4 from unknown numbers I didn't bother checking, probably him borrowing someone else's phone, and 1 voicemail. For a long moment, I sat there on the edge of the bed, the early sunlight cutting through the blinds in pale stripes, feeling detached from my own body, like I was watching a movie scene from too far away. Finally, I tapped the voicemail. Eric's voice came through immediately, cracked, hoarse, barely held together. "Madison, please, I'm begging you, call me. I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you. I don't know what's wrong with me. I need to talk to you. I need you to hear me. Lauren means nothing compared to us. I love you. Please. I deleted it before it finished. There was nothing in those words for me. Nothing that could rebuild even a single splinter of trust. I took the day off work, told my boss I had a family emergency. She didn't push for details. She knows I don't do drama unless something truly broke. And something had broken. Not just the relationship. Something inside me. A belief that I could trust the ground under my feet. So I rebuilt the only way I knew how, with practical steps. Logistics were easier than emotion. I made coffee I didn't drink and sat at my laptop, a spreadsheet already open from last night, canceling venues, confirming the deposit return window, emailing vendors, filing notes. The venue coordinator responded quickly, kind and professional. We're so sorry you're going through this. We'll initiate the refund by Monday. The caterer kept their deposit. It stung, but it felt cleaner than fighting. After that, I texted the landlord. Hi, I need to talk about possibly breaking the lease early. It's personal. He replied, come by the office anytime today. We'll work something out. I almost cried at that single act of human decency. Instead, I showered, put my hair up, and forced myself to look like someone capable of handling paperwork instead of collapsing. Sophie called around noon. At first, I didn't want to pick up, but she kept calling, and Sophie, unlike others, doesn't push unless it's serious. I answered on the fourth ring. Madison? She breathed into the receiver, no greeting. I just heard. Are you okay? Define okay, I said. It came out much flatter than I intended. Oh my God, I had no idea. I swear to you, I had no idea he was seeing someone else. He told me he needed space because you two were stressed about the wedding. If I had known... I know, I cut in gently. Eric lies easily. It wasn't your job to catch it. She exhaled shakily. You deserve so much better than this. I'm really sorry. There was nothing else to say. We hung up after a few minutes, and the apartment was quiet again. Too quiet. Echoing with the absence of someone I didn't want back but still felt like a missing limb. He showed up at 3:07 p.m. I recognized the sound of his key trying the lock before he even knocked. I'd already changed the deadbolt but not the bottom lock. A mistake. It turned halfway before stopping. A moment later came the knock, soft at first, then sharper. Madison, he murmured through the door. It's me. Please open up. I thought about staying silent, about pretending I wasn't home, but avoiding him would only drag the pain out longer. I opened the door. Eric looked awful. Eyelids red from crying, hair messy, clothes wrinkled like he'd slept on someone's couch. He smelled like cold air and regret. Thank you for answering, he said. I'm not answering, I said. I'm letting you get your things. His face fell. Please, just 5 minutes. 5 minutes to talk. You have 5 minutes, I said. Starting now. He stepped inside like someone entering a sacred place he'd been banned from. His eyes flicked to the couch where we used to fall asleep watching movies, then to the dining table where he'd kissed me the night we chose our wedding colors. Madison, he began, voice trembling. I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But what we have is real. What we built, it's real. Lauren was she was a distraction. I felt disconnected. I felt lost. And she was there at the right time. It didn't mean anything. It meant enough that you lied to me for 3 months, I said. He winced. I was confused. Stop calling it confusion. He blinked. What? Confusion is forgetting where you parked, I said. Confusion is mixing up dates. What you did took planning. You chose her. You chose lying. You chose to build something with her and hide it from me. Every time you texted her, choice. Every meetup, choice. Every lie, choice. He swallowed hard. Madison, I'm choosing you now. No, I said quietly. You're choosing damage control. That's not the same thing. His jaw worked as he tried to find footing. We can fix this. People come back from worse. You don't get to choose me after I catch you, I said. You don't get to burn the house down and then ask if I have a fire extinguisher. His eyes filled with tears. Please don't do this. Your 5 minutes are up, I said. Get your things. He stood there for a moment, shaking his head like he couldn't process the words. Then his shoulders sagged. Fine, he whispered. He walked past me to the bedroom. I followed, not closely, but close enough. He began packing clothes into bags, grabbing chargers, toiletries, small pieces of his life. At one point, he stopped and lifted the framed photo from our engagement trip, us smiling, my hand on his chest, the ring glittering. He stared at it for several long seconds. Then he set it face down on the dresser. We packed in silence. When he had 3 bags filled, he zipped the last one with shaking hands and turned toward me. His face was streaked with tears he hadn't bothered to wipe. "I really do love you," he said quietly, almost painfully. "I always have." I met his eyes. "If this is how you love, I don't want it." He closed his eyes like the words physically hit him. Then he nodded once, picked up his bags, and walked to the door. This time I didn't walk him out. I didn't make it easier. The door closed behind him with a heavy, final thud. I changed the locks an hour later. The locksmith didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. My face must have said enough. When he left and the apartment door clicked with its new bolt, I leaned my forehead against the wood and breathed slow, shaky breaths that felt like the first ones I'd taken all day. The apartment was too quiet again, but somehow less oppressive, like removing him had taken a weight with it. And for the first time in days, in the dim light of the hallway, I felt the faintest spark of something I hadn't expected. Relief. Not joy, not triumph. Just relief that the worst part was over. Or so I thought. People tell you the hardest part of a breakup is the confrontation, that one explosive night when everything shatters. They're wrong. The hardest part is the week that follows, when the dust settles and you're left alone with the pieces. No adrenaline, no anger hot enough to hold you upright. You wake up, and for a split second you forget. Then everything rushes back in, heavy and cold. That was my first week. 3 days after Eric moved out, I started hearing the whispers. A coworker of his told a coworker of mine, you know how it goes, that Eric was saying our breakup was mutual. We just weren't ready. Things got complicated. We're giving each other space. Space. He used my word for it, the one he never actually deserved. At first, I didn't respond. I didn't have the energy. But when actual friends, people who knew me, asked me directly, "Hey, what happened? I heard something but wanted to check on you." I told them the truth. Calm, clean, no theatrics, just the facts. Eric had an affair. I ended the engagement. I'm moving on. It spread faster than his version. People believed the story backed by evidence, and I had enough screenshots to wallpaper a house. Blocked numbers, emails from new accounts, even a handwritten letter left at my sister Rachel's place. Rachel texted me a photo of it. "Want me to burn it?" I wrote back, "No need, trash is fine." Eventually, she held on to all his attempts so I wouldn't have to touch them. Big sisters do that. They carry the things you're too tired to carry. The texts I didn't see. The emails went to spam. He tried showing up at my office once, but my assistant told him I was busy and that he needed to leave. She later brought me coffee and quietly asked, "Do I need to tell security not to let him back?" I nodded. She squeezed my shoulder and walked away like it was the most normal thing in the world. 2 weeks after everything blew up, a stranger named Lauren K. found me on LinkedIn. I stared at the message for a full minute before opening it. Lauren. "Hi, Madison. I know this is probably unwelcome, but I wanted to apologize. Eric told me he was single. I would never have pursued anything if I'd known. I'm truly sorry for my part in hurting you." I almost didn't reply. Almost. But something in me needed clarity. Not closure, just the final piece of truth cemented in place. So I wrote back, "Me. He told you he was single? You never noticed the engagement ring he wore every day? You never wondered why all your meetups were secret, or why he never took photos with you, or why he avoided public places? Did none of that seem strange?" Lauren didn't respond. She didn't have to. The silence was an answer. The landlord kept his promise. With a 1-month penalty, he let me out early. "You deserve a fresh start," he'd said, sliding the paperwork across the desk. I wanted to hug him. Instead, I just signed, thanked him, and moved into a small apartment closer to my office. It was nothing glamorous, a 1-bedroom with mismatched cabinets and floors that creaked, but it was mine. The first night there, I slept on an air mattress because my furniture wouldn't arrive until morning. It was the best night of sleep I'd had in months. No ghosts, no second toothbrush mocking me in the bathroom, no spaces where something used to be, just emptiness. Clean, breathable emptiness. I unpacked slowly, deliberately, one drawer at a time, one shelf at a time. I made new routines, new routes to work, new grocery store, new morning playlist, new everything. It still surprises me how quickly life can rebuild itself when you stop clinging to the rubble. Eric's name stopped stinging. His face stopped flickering in my mind. Our memories faded into something distant. Like an old show I stopped watching halfway through. And then I heard from a mutual friend. Eric and Lauren had tried dating, for real, openly, after everything was exposed. It lasted 6 weeks. The secrecy that made it exciting evaporated in the daylight. Turns out you can't build a relationship on the rush of doing something wrong. He ended it. Of course he did. A few days later, he tried emailing me again with a new address. Paragraphs about therapy, personal growth, clarity, responsibility. I blocked him before finishing the second sentence. One Saturday morning, I ran into Eric's mom at a small corner cafe near my new place. I considered walking out before she saw me, but she spotted me almost instantly. "Madison," she said softly. Her eyes looked tired. "Hi." "Hi," I said. She asked if she could sit with me. I nodded. There was a long pause before she spoke. "I'm so sorry for everything," she said, voice trembling. "You were always so good to our family. You didn't deserve what happened." I swallowed. "Thank you." "He's struggling," she admitted. "But it's his fault." I nodded. "I hope he figures out whatever he needs to figure out." I meant it, not out of love, not out of hope, just truth. Her eyes filled with tears. She squeezed my hand. Then she left. And I felt lighter, not heavier. People keep asking if I'm over it. I don't think that's the right word. I'm past it. I've moved on. The anger dissolved. The sadness turned into something quieter. Acceptance, maybe. Indifference. The kind that lets you sleep at night. I'm dating again. Not seriously, just coffee here and there. I'm more careful now. I watch for red flags, for distance disguised as mystery, for phones kept too close and explanations that don't quite add up. But I'm not cynical. What Eric did says everything about him and nothing about love or relationships as a whole. And here's the truth I didn't expect to learn. When someone asks for space to figure things out, they've usually already figured things out. They're just trying to engineer a softer landing. Evidence matters. It protected me from the gaslighting that would have come. It protected my dignity, my story, my sanity. Involving our families early was brutal, but it closed the door he would have tried to pry open for months. Most importantly, I learned I'd rather be alone than be someone's backup plan. Eric wanted to pause us while he explored his other option, his what if. I gave him all the space he wanted, permanent space. Now, I'm Madison Cole, 34 years old, living in my own apartment, building a quiet, steady, beautiful life that doesn't include a man who made me an option. I didn't get the wedding I planned, but I also didn't get the marriage that would have shattered me the first time life got difficult. And that feels like winning.